welcome to my OB presentation. Today I'm going to be focusing on two organizations from the perspective of the OB concepts: leadership, conflict and negotiation, and organizational culture. I chose these two organizations because they're pretty much different in every service level aspect, and that gets into a lot of interesting differences when you look at them through the concepts. So the first organization is a company called TS Tech. It's a car seat manufacturing company. It's foreign owned. It's based out of Japan. It has a couple dozen locations over Asia, Europe, North America, South America. It's a massive company. I'm going to be focusing specifically on the Newmarket plant, which has about 350 employees. But it should be noted that it takes influence from outside of itself, from, its multinational base. And it manufactures for one client, and that client is Honda. And all the car seats it makes go to Honda. And the second organization I'm going to be focusing on is a local restaurant called Cuccelli Pizza. It's a family-owned restaurant. The owner works there with his wife and two kids on a full-time basis, and there's about 6 other hired employees. It serves pizza, wings, pasta, sandwiches, all kinds of stuff. It is sit-down delivery, takeout, so as opposed to TS Tech, it serves a high volume of clients, of customers, in a variety of ways, so there's a strong variety of customer interactions. Okay, so the first OB concept I'm going to be focusing on is organizational culture, and you can see already that they're quite different, the two organizations, in terms of the concepts of culture they focus on. TS Tech specifically is very high in attention to detail. They care very strongly and focus on that. Outcome orientation, they set high quotas and they make sure that they're going to be met. Team orientation is strong too. There's everyone has to wear the same uniform, and that's strict. There's a strong dress code policy. There's a team meeting before every shift, and that aspect of teamwork, sorry, I'm a little sick right now, is focused on through rewards. There's a team-based reward system. So for TS Tech, this page right here is a screen capture from their website, from their employee code of conduct and guidelines. And you can see the first one is provision of safe, high-quality products and services. So outcome is, the number one thing for them. They ask employees to be the best that they can. They'll do everything they can to implement safety measures, have high-quality products, and when they make mistakes, they want employees to correct them as quickly as possible. And Cuccelli's on the flip side to TS Tech doesn't really have a stated culture. They, like I said, there's a friendly environment and people feel valued there. But when you're hired, there's no given mission statement or, just kind of teaching new employees that, this is the way things are done here. No uniforms that employees are required to wear. But the culture that does come stems from just a welcoming workplace that starts from the owner and spreads to the employees. Everyone works hard, operates in good faith with each other, and that starts from the owner. But senior level employees pick it up, and it spreads to newer level employees too. So leadership in Cuccelli's and TS Tech operates differently. TS Tech is a multi-tiered hierarchy. It starts with temp workers, and then there's full-time manufacturers on a line. Then there's the line leader who's in charge of making sure everything's working correctly. Then there's the supervisor who oversees several lines of manufacturing. And then beyond that, there's upper management who, the lower level employees won't even see very often. Initiating structure is emphasized over consideration. Everyone knows clearly what their role is, what power they have and don't have, what their job is at a certain time. Everyone's told, what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. But on the flip side, there's not much charisma or transformational leadership. Some supervisors are more charismatic than others, but it's definitely, taken over by the rigidity of the transactional leadership. And Cuccelli's, the hierarchy is, it's simpler in concept, but it's kind of unclear because it is a generally relaxed workplace. The owner gives directions and make management decisions. Sometimes family gives directions too. but not as involved in management decisions. Sometimes more experienced employees will give direction to lower employees, even if they don't have that official title of responsibility. Consideration is considered more important. Like I said, roles aren't clearly defined. People's voices are taken into account. Everyone's listened to. Transactional leadership exists, but only if something is going wrong. There isn't over involvement in the process by the owner. Transformational leadership, like I said, individual consideration is definitely present. People feel cared about by the owner, and that they have a personal relationship with him. He tries to make friends with all the employees, or at least operate on friendly terms with them, and tries to get to know them. And there's also, like I said, because it's kind of the emphasis on structure, it kind of gives way to expert and referent leadership, because more inexperienced employees, experienced employees, because they have more time there and a better idea of how things work. And also referent power, because lower employees kind of admire some of the work ethic and charisma of some of the more experienced employees, and they kind of want to replicate that and take direction from that. So for conflict and negotiation at TS Tech, there's not much task process conflict, because the organization is so clearly structured. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing, and there's not much overlap in power. So who's ever above in power gives the orders, and who's ever below has to obey them. That's why most conflict results in forcing and yielding. There is relationship conflict, because, like I said, the structure is so rigid that there's a bit of resentment there. Employees feel they're being forced into something, not that they have much say in it. And there's also relationship conflict between teams, because of the team-based reward system, which at TS Tech, every 2 weeks, the company will pay for employees' lunch if they reach the goal of 0 defects within that 2 weeks. So teams that don't get it will resent the teams that do, and also teams that don't get it will resent each other, because you succeed or fail as a team, but a lot of the times the defects can come from an individual, so the entire team kind of has to suffer because of one person's mistake. At least there is some process conflict. There's some disagreements on how to do things, but it's generally, arguments are done in good faith, and the goal is to solve the problem, not to fight with each other, and usually it's done pretty successfully. Not much relationship conflict, because everyone operates in good faith with each other. It gives the opportunity to solve problems. Okay, so TS Tech is, like I said, very outcome orientated, and this is definitely their strength. It's what they focus on and what they're successful on. They set high quotas every day, and they're always met, unless there's some type of mechanical failure. It's rarely a result of human failure. People, because people know their role and they know how hard they have to work, they achieve that. But on the flip side, this, structural rigidity results in low job satisfaction and a lot of new employees quitting after a couple of weeks, because they can't acclimate to the work environment and the culture. And, the fact that people don't like being told what to do to such a severe degree, that causes a lot of problems with employee satisfaction. So my recommendation, the solution for this, is to give employees a voice in the structural process. Excuse me. So this could be done by some form of participative management. At the team meetings I mentioned, it's really not a team meeting. It's more the supervisor giving orders and telling lower employees what they're going to be doing that day. So I definitely allocate some of that meeting for employees to have a voice in it and give suggestions to the supervisor. And this would help with self-efficacy, because employees get to see a bigger part of the process, task identity, because they see a bigger part of the process. Self-efficacy, because they feel more involved and, will become more confident in their abilities to make change. And motivation, especially through responsibility, because they feel they have a more role and more of a stake in the process and the outcome. So what Coachella does well is create a friendly and welcoming environment and atmosphere, and it's employees enjoy it there. It's a good place to work. They feel like they're valued by the owner and by each other as individuals. When direction is given, it's not really resisted. It's compliant or either enthusiastic. Employees are happy to take direction when it is given. On the flip side of this, the atmosphere can be seen as too relaxed, and it doesn't really create an environment of growth or ambition. Work is done to a satisfactory level, but not much more. So it's a good place for a job. Employees like it, like I said. For a career where you want to kind of move up the corporate ladder and see individual growth through the growth of the company, it's not really the organization for that. I can't really see the organization franchising any farther anytime soon. Or, there's not really an emphasis on trying to grow the customer base. So the solution to this comes directly from it, is that the owner should focus more on being a transformational leader, especially through idealized influence and specifically in providing a vision to employees of where he wants the organization to go, of the change he wants to see in the near future or far future, just to kind of give employees a path as to where the company is going. And also, he should focus on motivational inspiration, specifically through communicating high expectations. So how, explaining to employees how they're going to get to to achieve that vision and what they can do to help in that process. So as you can see from the various questions that these two organizations operate, very differently. You could say they're almost opposites in the way they operate in terms of the concepts. And this, in my opinion, comes from two specific things. The first is the size of the organization and level to which the bottom of the organization can interact with the top of it. So at TS Tech, bottom level employees, manufacturers, and temp workers don't see top level employees at all. So the solution is to make a very formal culture and try to filter it through the tiers of hierarchy. And this works transactionally. Like I said, outcome is very successful, but employees aren't, particularly motivated or enthusiastic, because the charisma and transformational leadership is kind of lost when you get filtered through the tiers of hierarchy. The CEO of the plants may be a very charismatic person, but that gets lost through translation. And on the flip side of TS Tech, the owner at Cocelli sees every employee every day. He works there full time and is involved in the process completely. And there's only about 10 employees, so he has time to create a personal relationship with all of them. So the employee enthusiasm and willingness to follow direction comes from that relationship, and that's something TS Tech can't have just because of its size and the amount of employees that the top level of leadership would have to interact with. The second primary difference is the consequence of failure, and what I mean by this is that TS Tech has one client, Honda, so if they make too many mistakes or don't satisfy Honda's requirements and they lose that client, then the whole plant is at risk of shutting down. And secondly, they make car seats, so a safety defect can lead to, horrific injury or even death. And, it opens the company up to a lot of lawsuits if they fail in a safety aspect. On contrast, Cocelli's, it has several hundred customers a day, so if you lose a customer, you're losing, about 0.5% of your daily revenue. The worst that happens is someone, doesn't enjoy their meal. The very worst that can happen is someone gets sick. But, there's not a very big risk of that. So that's another reason why TS Tech has to be so much more rigid and structured and focused on detail than Cocelli's. So yeah, that was my presentation. I hope you learned something, and thank you for watching.